Welcome to another episode of OG55 Live. I got the Italiano with me today. I got Mr. Lucas Kim with me today. It is an Ask Us Anything Q&A live show here on OG55. Let's go. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG55 Live. In this episode, we are taking all your questions. It's an Ask Us Anything Q&A. You can talk to us about parks. You can talk to us about studio. You can talk to us about just about anything you want. Music, whatever it is. Feel free to post your questions in the chat. Before we dive into our questions, though, George, it's good to have you back, sir. Been a while.
Thanks. Yeah. It's been a real minute, this is the first live that we've done in quite a while since my trip out to Cali. So it's always great to do these lives and interact with the fans, if you will, of the channel in real time. Yeah. It's always a great time.
Absolutely. If you let everybody home know where they can find you on social media.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There he is. And down below, back on the channel, it is an honor having you back, Lucas. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thanks, guys. For those who do not know me, my name is ItsLucasKim at the X or Twitter channel, and you can follow me easily right there. I always love talking about Disney, Star Wars, Marvel, or even anime or video games. Anything that you want to talk to me, I'm happy to talk about it. And it's really an honor being part of the live chat today. So thank you, guys.
Yeah, no, thank you for joining us, and make sure you follow him on X. After the show today, I'll add his X handle in the description, so you can definitely check that out. So make sure you follow Lucas Kim. If you're into Disney, you're into Star Wars, he's your guy. Make sure you give him a follow. All right, let's dive in, guys. Here we go. First question of the day is from GooGamp32. Why did Cars get a whole land to itself in DCA while every other Pixar franchise had to share one pier? That's kind of funny. Well, not entirely. I mean, Bugs Land, got their own. Bugs Life got their own land, and then it's gone now. But at one point, they had their own land. I think really, Googamp. I don't take it over to you, George, and then Lucas. I think the thing with Cars was I think they saw that movie is the connection with that movie and like Route 66 and like car culture, and they felt it was a really good fit for California Adventure. I know technically it takes place in Arizona, but I think there's enough California connections or connective tissue there to justify its existence at DCA. So I think that's the reason why. I think it's a little harder for a lot of the other Pixar properties to kind of do what Cars was able to do in that park. Another thing that I heard, and it could be just a rumor, it could be wrong, but I heard that when Bugs Land was pegged for removal for Marvel to move in, John Lasseter was not too happy about that. And he kind of saw Pixar sort of being, diminished. Okay. And from what I understand, the Pixar Pier thing was a way to sort of, make good with John Lasseter. So that was a rumor I heard. It could be wrong, but I was hearing that for a few years now. So that's why we got Pixar Piers, because Lasseter wasn't too happy that the Pixar kind of influence was kind of getting diminished during that whole MCU, phenomenon. But George, what are your theories and thoughts in regards to why Cars got its own land, but the rest of Pixar has to share a pier?
Yeah, to echo your statement, OG, Cars definitely gives off that vibe to have a full-fledged land. I can't really foresee that particular IP just getting a single based attraction. That's why I don't really see it going into Magic Kingdom for the Beyond Big Thunder. I don't think it would work out well, even though it kind of somewhat can tie into like the Beyond, you know, the Big Thunder with like the rock work and what have you. But as far as for a full-fledged land, Cars definitely can pull off that notion. Not saying that the other Pixar films cannot, but when you're putting the Pixar IP into a theme park that's more so dedicated to the state of California, then that kind of, you have to put the IP intermixed with something. And sure enough, they already had the pier, so it's like, okay, let's, you know, add that IP in there on top of kind of I don't like to use this term, but schmoozing John Lasseter to kind of make him feel better due to the fact of like what they were going to do with A Bug's Land, which I'm probably in the minority here, but I actually enjoyed A Bug's Land. It really wasn't more so about the like the kiddie rides, but it was more of the aesthetics. I don't know. I just felt like it was right adjacent to Cars Land, and it felt like I loved being the size of an insect and looking up at the blades of grass and the just, I don't know. It was just something about it that was very, very charming, and I do miss it. But I do understand why Disney had to do it at the time, because with the Eastern Gateway, and it didn't happen, and you know, Marvel was a hot ticket at the time, so they wanted to get it into the park at some point. But I do think that a lot of the other Pixar IPs do fall short. We're starting to see it even with Inside Out 2. You know, it's becoming, honestly, in a way, another cultural phenomenon. A lot of people are saying, you know, is this going to be like the next Frozen 2, so to speak, based off of the numbers? And what does Inside Out have to show for it? A spinning ride that was reskinned from Flix Flyers.
Yeah, no, that franchise deserves a lot more than what it has and what it currently has in DCA. Absolutely. But I do agree with you, George. I mean, I do think I can understand why they got rid of Bugs Land and put Marvel in there. Even aside from Marvel being hot at the time, I think Marvel is a property that's so it has so much diversity in the characters and the different stories that you can tell with that franchise. So building a land on for Marvel, there's so many directions you can go in terms of expansions. Bugs Life is one movie. You know what I'm saying? There's only so much you can do with that franchise, you know, so you're kind of boxed in. But Lucas, what do you think? Why did Cars get a whole land, but Pixar, the rest of the Pixar franchises had to share one pier with Pixar Pier? Well, what's your theory?
I'm just gonna like assume that Gugam 32 is just like focusing on you know, California's Disneyland alone itself, and not really focusing on the Disney World. So because if you think about it, Toy Story Land is actually exists in, you know, Hollywood Studios, so it has its own big land right there. But
Sure.
but on the other hand, the Disneyland actually has a Cars Land, like has its own Cars Land right there. So you know, both of them has its own land separately. But meanwhile, Disney's Hollywood Studios has Cars attraction show, not, you know, like a kind like a stunt show, not really you know, like has its own land or anything like that. So I have a feeling that like Disney is company itself doesn't really like want to put more money into Pixar's, like each of the like have its own lands, but like each of the title one by one like that, because they believe that it's not gonna bring too much attention. I guess that's just my feeling. Because if you think about it, if they wanted to do like a whole like title of a land right there, then we would have seen like Finding Nemo grouped into one instead of like splitting into two, one from Animal Kingdom and then one from Epcot right there. They would rather just group it as one, you know, and you know, also if you think about it, I actually was like reading one of the content creator Zach Haltman's concept of it, you know, his image, how the Inside Out and also Big Heroes 6 can join as one in a Epcot Center, where the one building would be like composed of like human body like function, where Baymax like a, you know, the like a center for how like a body's like illness or anything like that. You know, the kids can like interact with Baymax to understand like how, you know, like how a human body functions. And while the upstairs is like Inside Out content, where kids can understand like what kind of emotions, inside the brain, and understand like how these emotions function. I thought that concept idea was pretty cool, in my own personal opinion.
Oh no, that concept is brilliant, because what you do with with that concept, Lucas, you pacify the suits in Burbank with the IP, because the corporate end of Disney wants the IP. That's where the money is, right? There's less risk, so you satisfy that element of it, right? But then you're also still respecting Epcot and its kind of mission statement with this kind of like this edutainment. So you're kind of hitting both. I think that's really smart. George, would you be up for that if they did something like that?
Absolutely, and I think Inside Out definitely falls into that bracket, with that edutainment type of thing, where you can have the recognizable IP, but at the end of the day, they can tie a great storyline to those characters where it makes sense, with going inside the mind and like with the different of emotions of how the body works when you feel a certain way and what have you. And it kind of ties into, like with the different.
Sorry about that.
Sorry. I was like, oh, who's that? Who's that handsome guy?
Sorry, my thing came, my roadcaster issues, but go ahead. I do apologize, brother.
That as Lucas was saying, at Epcot, they covered a lot of those bases with the Wonders of Life Pavilion, with Cranium Command and the Making of Me and Body Wars. So to kind of tie in an IP with that, I think that would be great.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's a brilliant idea, and that's the kind of creative kind of stuff I want to see Disney doing. It's okay to use IP. A lot of fans get into this thing where it's like so taboo. We can't have IP. You can have IP. I think it's just the execution has to be there. Some of the best stuff Disney has done has been IP. Whether it be Star Tours, Indiana Jones Adventure, there's been a lot of great IP stuff. It just all comes down to execution at the end of the day. Mr. T.S. Wade here says, "Is this the end of the Muppets?" I hope not, because it looks like Disney doesn't care about the Muppets anymore. And I think he's referring to, they're closing down Jim Henson studio, right? And that was actually Charlie Chaplin's studio back in the day. From what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, George, I don't think Disney has control over that studio. I thought Disney just bought the Muppets. They didn't buy Jim Henson.
I believe it was just the Muppets themselves. As far as the studio, the creature shop, that was all still tied into the Henson family.
Yeah, so that's not a Disney thing, Wade. It's sad to see, though. I was really sad when I heard that news that that the iconic, legendary studio is going to be sold off. I hope they don't do to that what they did with Disney's old studio that was on Hyperion. They bulldozed Disney's old studio before they moved over to the current one. And it currently is a Gelson's Market, believe it or not. I mean, what a sin that is, right?
Yeah.
Really sad. But I hope they don't do the same thing with Muppets. I hope someone buys it. Maybe Disney will buy it. I don't know. But I mean, buy it up and preserve it, or turn it into maybe like a Jim Henson family museum or something would be kind of cool. I don't know. There's options, but don't buy it and then put condos in there or something. That would be horrible.
I will say, and for all of you who have gone on the Adventures by Disney tour, especially with this news, I don't know if you have anything planned, but if you can get that longer extension of the Adventures by Disney, the 7-night Southern Californian trip, that does include a stop at the Muppet Studios. So definitely, if you have that opportunity, definitely check it out before it closes down. I do hope that they do something with it. I hope that it just doesn't feel like it goes in vain and it just gets bulldozed like it wasn't part of American pop culture and history.
There's so much there between the Muppet history and the Charlie Chaplin history. Somebody's got to snatch that up and preserve it.
But I will say, just overall, I do wish. Here's the thing with the Muppets. Like I'm for sure majority of us all grew up with the Muppets, whether it was like the Muppet Show, Muppet Babies, the Muppet films, but it seems like it really is a hit or miss. I don't really think that it's necessarily Disney's issue. I just think that it's a very limited market with the Muppets.
The Muppets are kind of a, and I love the Muppets. I absolutely adore the Muppets. My idea to replace Pooh in Critter Country was a Muppet swamp ride. I think that would be great for that area right across from Tiana's. Would be awesome, but that'll never happen. But Muppets were really big in the 70s into the 80s and stuff, and it was like that moment in time. I just don't know if they're ever going to catch fire again like that. There's some franchises that are just sort of stuck in a certain era. I would love to see them be really big again, but I just don't see it. And here's the thing. I mean, a lot of people complain about Disney and their approach with the Muppets, all that. They didn't really give the Muppets a chance. I would respectfully disagree with that. I think that Disney has given Muppets a lot of chances, to be honest with you. How many times have we gotten a new Muppet movie, or they tried to reboot a show, or try a Muppet show with a different angle, or this, that, and the other? They've tried so many different ways to kind of revitalize the Muppets, and nothing really works. It's kind of sad. But Lucas, what are your thoughts on this in terms of the Jim Henson Studio closing down, in terms of Muppets in general? Or, did Disney give up on them? What are your thoughts on this, brother?
Let's be honest. Like, Muppets has been, existed for a very, very long time. Probably like around when I was like really like little, and Muppet was very popular in South Korea back then too. And along with Sesame Street, and so I kind of knew the existence, the like Kermit the Frog and everything. Now, Disney bought the intellectual property of the Muppets back in 2004,
right?
And from Jim Henson's company, and just only recently, like just about like a year or 2 years ago, I think Frank Oz spoke up, and he was not happy with how the direction of the Disney was going with the Muppets. And for those who do not know who Frank Oz is, he was involved heavily with the Miss Piggy and the Fozzie Bear and some of the other Muppets, and he was a hand controller of all the majority of the Muppets within Jim Henson's show, and Frank Oz spoke that Disney didn't want him to be involved in anything at all, and that's why he started criticizing, saying that Disney technically killed like Jim Henson's idea of the Muppets, and that's why he was very disappointed about it.
And I'm assuming that they probably made amends between the company and Frank Oz, because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, he's one of the people that's going to get honored as a Disney legend this year.
Yes, he is. So I'm assuming that they are probably in talks with him. And as you know, Disney Hollywood Studios, the Muppet Vision 3D. So I was there during the December 2023, and that was like the busiest Disney Hollywood Studios attendance that I've ever witnessed. Like, all the Genie Pluses were all sold out, Lightning Lanes were all sold out.
Wow.
All the guest services were like they closed down anyone waiting on the line right there, and they were not accepting refunds for like Savvy's Workshop or anything like that. It was really that bad. And
wow.
I had to give up my Savvy's Workshop to somebody else and go through the guest services without me paying any penalty, because one of the family really wanted to do it for their kid for the Christmas, and I gave away my Savvy's Workshop during that time. So he was like a 7-year-old kid wanted to do it, so why not?
Absolutely. I love, honestly, Lucas, not to digress too much, I love to hear that, brother. That was awesome of you. Like, that's what it's about, really, right? These kids that kid's never going to forget that experience. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing, like, even like when we're at the parks and we're on Main Street and you see a kid behind you. And I'm tall, and I got tall ass hair too. So if there's a kid behind me, it's like, okay, you know what? Come up ahead. Go ahead and you can cut in front of me. I've seen this show a million times. Maybe the kid is from like out of country, Japan or Australia or something, or maybe even out of state.
Is that what you do, OG?
What?
is that what you do? You invite them up? Usually, like invite them like in front of you, like to view.
Yeah.
Usually, I just say back the hell off. That's what I do.
Oh my God, George.
George. Yeah, no. I mean, let them go in front. Who cares? Like, I'm a local. I'm there at the parks all the time. I've seen everything a million times.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, I know a lot of people. This is probably going to be a controversial topic with the child on the dad's shoulders kind of thing.
Oh yeah. I don't care.
That's like I couldn't care less. Like it's a kid. As you said, it's probably like a once in a lifetime experience. Like, when I know that I'm going to be going back for many, many times, like, can we really say that that's the same? That's going to be the same thing for the kid. And who knows, maybe when they get older, maybe, from that one trip, it can inspire them to go even more as an adult, but maybe, financial, at the time that the family could only go one time. And it's like, am I really going to stop a kid from seeing the fireworks? It's like, come on.
Yeah, come on. If you're in a situation like that, especially if you're a local, I mean, if you're a local and you're there all the time, let the kid get in front. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
I do apologize for digressing a little bit, but I as I was saying, the Muppets Vision 3D.
Oh yeah.
Even though it was the busiest time, it was barely filled up. Everything was all like the full line right there. 3 to 4 hours of Slinky Dog, but nobody wanted to go to Muppets Vision 3D. And I've asked a couple of people like at the guest, I'm like, I would assume they would fill up. What's going on? And they're like, we're always seeing this show all the time, every year.
Yeah.
Do you think, Lucas? Do you think if they were to do like a major update to the Muppets, like maybe put something else in the theater that can kind of give people into their butts into the seats, or do you think that it's just no matter what they do with the Muppets, it's just kind of like, dare I say it, a dying art form?
No. I have a feeling that if they change the whole redo the Muppet Vision 3D with a new scenario and then new experience right there, it's gonna get filled up. Like I said, Muppets has been a very loyal franchise for a very long time, ever since we were all kids, and then even the kids in this generation still watch like Muppets, like Sesame Street, or even the Muppet itself. People, they love these type of shows. It's very educational for them in its own experience. And most of the parents still prefer kids to watch like shows like Muppets over like something like anime, or like even like like making them watch. Hey, kids, go watch like a Demon Slayer. No,
well, that's what that's what your kids. Your son is older, right? George, 14, I think.
14. Yeah, he's a huge Demon Slayer.
Yeah, he's into it. That's great. That's great. Now, TS Wade here says, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Really quick, OG, before you move on to the question, can you just come all the way down to Joe B real quick to his comment?
Oh, yeah.
All the way down at the bottom. I just want to just showcase this, because it's all the way down here. But I do want to thank you, Joe B. Thank you for joining into the live. We really appreciate it. And I think it's quite interesting. You're not the first person that we are the go-to for the drive to work or the commute back home.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Joe. Well, welcome to the channel. We love having you here. It's good to see you, brother. And thank you so much. Thank you so much. Enjoy the show. Let me see here. Oh, hold on. I'm getting lost here. There we go. Mr. T.S. Wade here says, is it wrong that I blame the Acolyte for making Disney cancel the SEA TV series and movie? I was looking forward to that. So the SEA is Society of Explorers and Adventurers. It's sort of like an Imagineering created IP. It's kind of like more like an inside sort of thing. A lot of us nerds know what it is. There's references, in the parks regarding this. Normies have no idea, pretty much. But here's the thing, right? Mm-hmm. In terms of like, is it wrong for you, Wade, to blame the Acolyte? Respectfully, yes. I don't think the Acolyte has anything to do with the canceling of these shows or movie. I think it was more or less Disney. Bob Iger has come out and said this. They're looking at their current slate and what they have, and they're cutting back, and they're going to do quality over quantity. So I think the more likely scenario, Wade, is that they were looking at the C show in the movie or whatever they were making on that, and it, you know what, it didn't pass the quality test. They didn't feel like it was up to snuff. Maybe they didn't feel like the normies were going to jump on board with this, and they cut it. I don't think it has anything to do with the Acolyte. The Acolyte is a new thing, kind of, and I think this decision for C to get canceled was probably done a while ago. We're just hearing about it now.
I was just going to say, I think it was kind of like in the limbo kind of forte of like whether or not it was going to get greenlit or not, even before the Acolyte would even like came like online to us fans, like even before they even made the announcement of the first trailer and what have you. I would have been interested in the C TV series and movie, but I mean, as OG said, I think for a normie and the bigger demographic, I don't think it really would have taken off in that manner, but we really don't know. I mean, but I guess in Disney's eyes, they didn't see it either. But also too, even if the Acolyte and the C TV series and movie was like kind of going head to head in the sense as far as release time.
Yeah.
As far as what the Acolyte numbers go, or you know, reviews and what have you, being that is under the Lucasfilm Star Wars kind of umbrella, and then the C series is more under the Disney banner, I really don't think it had any crossover or hindrance one way or the other.
Right. The Acolyte stuff would affect maybe more of the future Star Wars shows, if anything. But here's the other thing too. I really want to say this, and then I'll go to you, Lucas. But I keep hearing that Star Wars is dead. Star Wars is dead. Okay. Now look, I fully admit and acknowledge that there are issues at Lucasfilm. Okay. I've always said that. You know, but here's the thing: when people say Star Wars is dead, and then I go on to Twitter. And not just me, it's not anecdotal. There are a lot of people are logging on to Twitter, and their entire timelines are full of arguments about the Acolyte. Okay, people don't sit there and argue endlessly on social media about dead, irrelevant franchises. If Star Wars was dead, you wouldn't be seeing so many arguments about the Acolyte. Okay. I know a lot of people don't like Star Wars right now, or they don't think, you know, they think it's woke, or they think it's this, that, and the other. They don't like Kathleen Kennedy. That's fine. That's your prerogative. You can have any opinion you want. I respect that. But to think Star Wars is dead, I think it's kind of absurd when you see so much activity on social media surrounding these shows. Obviously, people still care, right? It's like relationships. They always say, when your girl stops getting mad, that's when you have to. That's when you have to worry. When she stops getting mad, that's when you have to worry. But when she's silent and doesn't care anymore, then it's bad. You know what I'm saying? That's how then you know it's bad. So I think that
really that's the day I usually stop popping the Vicodin.
The Vicodin, yeah, exactly. But, but Lucas, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, brother? Acolyte, you know, the discourse is this what caused Disney to cancel the C show, or do you kind of agree with George and I on this one?
I don't know 100% about like too much about like C shows like when it was actually processed for development, but as far as I know about the Acolyte, it was greenlit around like May of 2020. So
Okay.
you know this development has been ongoing for 4 years, and they were like kind of like putting it on hold due to the pandemic issues and everything. So by the time that, you know, I'm pretty sure like CTV was like being processed, the reason why it was canceled is because, like I said, Bob Iger was putting in, you know, cancellation to whatever like before it was like halfway of development, and he wanted to, you know, like stop anything that might, you know, cause a lot of oversaturated films and everything. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure he was like, what's going on with the Acolyte, and you know, Leslie Headland and then the Lucasfilm were like, we're already got the scripts going, and we already have like half of these like, you know, CGs and everything already in development. We can't cancel this.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure they probably kept proceeding with it. And even if it's like good or bad, I had a feeling, you know, some of these shows like Snow White, or even like, you know, the Acolyte, were already in their like end phases of like finishing the filming and everything. So they just decided to execute it and just go right along with it.
Yeah,
But
well said.
whether it's the acolyte has to do with the CTV or not, I can't say. This is all within the Disney's insider or whoever the board's decision right there, and we can't really like judge if it's like because of the acolyte that canceled it or not. But at the end of the day, just like you said, like it really probably has to do with the too much oversaturated film, and then Bob Iger just wanted to put a halt into that right there.
Yeah, well said, well said. And our friend Tones Poppy, Bad Thought Studio here says the Star Wars franchise isn't dead. It's just not desirable like it once was. That's a very fair point and probably very true, to be honest with you. But see, that's the thing. I was actually watching, and that's a very nuanced opinion too, right? And the truth usually does lie somewhere in the middle, most of the time. And actually, I was watching a big shout out to Josh from Den of Nerds. I was watching his live show this morning, and that guy is always fire. Okay, always fire. One of the best nerdy live shows on the internet. Absolutely love his content. But he was talking about that, how there's like these big extremes, right? Where it's like you have like the grifters who kind of like farm your emotions, right? They want you angry, and they kind of monetize that anger. And then you have kind of like the more shillies, that are like just everything is perfect, right? And he was saying that the middle is pretty much where the truth is, and that's kind of where Tones is right now, but is where the middle. And it's like the internet is such like he referred to it as like kind of like a digital Thunderdome, and it's all about just winning the arguments on Twitter and not about actually having those intellectual conversations and having that context and having that, that gray area. And so you see a lot of that on Twitter and stuff, but I think Tones is absolutely correct here. It's not dead, but it's also not perfect. I think he hit the right middle ground here when he's saying, look, it's not dead, but it maybe isn't what it once was before. I think that's absolutely perfect. Now, before we move on, George, go ahead.
Can I ask you both if the seed did come onto the streaming service, would that put a whole new meaning to channel surfing?
It would. It absolutely would. It would. But I don't know, man. After they canceled it, I'm kind of salty. I'm just kidding. Got a few dad jokes in there. T.S. Wade here says, last question for me. Will the Walt Disney Animation Studios try again on making a 2D, 3D hybrid animated film? I know Wish flopped, but it doesn't hurt to try again. Yeah, absolutely, Wade. I think they will absolutely try it again. It wasn't the style of animation that I think people had the issue with. I mean, I think I've heard a lot of positive things actually about the animation style. The criticisms were coming from other elements of the movie, at least from what I was hearing on social media. So I don't see any reason why they wouldn't try that style again. And I've said it before on many shows, we've gotten to a point with CGI that it's like they can basically make it look like a live action. Like the realism is there. You can only get so real. You know what I'm saying? I think now these studios are going to start playing with more stylized animation. We're even seeing it with Universal with like their Puss in Boots movie, which has a really cool kind of like painted look to it. You know what I'm saying? We saw Spider-Verse, very popular film franchise that's very stylized, right? So I think that Disney will dabble in more unique forms of animation and not just stick with the traditional CGI every single time, But what say you, George?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like they'll try different ways of experimenting with different kind of animation styles. I feel like that they will go down this route again. And as far as Wish actually flopping, I feel like the film itself isn't a flop because I do believe it's doing well on Disney Plus right now. As far as in the theaters go, I think there was two things against this film. And one was the fact that of how it was being marketed and promoted by Disney themselves by saying that this movie was 100 years in the making, from the studio that brought you Snow White, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King. And it was like just running all through these films. And it's a great movie, but when you hype it up onto that level, it kind of gives it a little bit of a diluted sense. Like when you go and see it and you're saying, okay, this is a good movie, but is it really 100 years in the making sort of thing? And then secondly, I feel what hurt it at the box office, and this is just my opinion, I feel like fans just really didn't give this film a chance based off of what a lot of comments were being said on the internet, on social media, and they weren't really kind of utilizing themselves to say, you know what, I'm going to inform my own opinion on this by going to see this movie. You know, I'll just read this article or I'll read this review. And it's like, if they say it's bad, then fine, I'm not going to go, because one's own opinion is completely different from the others, you know? So it's like, you can't necessarily just go by a critic's review or a person writing a review. You have to make your own insinuation of how you think about a movie. What say you, Lucas?
So I think like the idea on releasing Wish and then why it flopped, it really has to do with the bad timing, in my personal opinion. You have to kind of understand the why Wish failed is because the previous movies that were released on the theater, such as Strange Worlds or like Lightyear, and continuous Disney's like flopped movies with a poor execution of story and the poor execution of what what the audience wanted was not being given. So fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, kind of right there. So by the time all these Lightyear and Strange Worlds poor execution, when Wish came out, people were like, yeah, I'm not going for this movie this time. They already failed me numerous times, and that's probably what caused Wish to not have enough box office sales. But you have to understand, Disney was not flopping at all in a sense, because if you look at Avatar, the Way of Water, it became the top 5 the historic highest box office sales in history right now.
Right.
Yeah, so it has nothing to do with Disney's failing, but it was just like poorly released at a very bad timing. And the quality of the story of Wish, it's not that bad at all, but at the same time, like George said, is it really like 100-year anniversary quality of a movie?
Right.
I personally don't think so, but I think it's a good story, good emotional movie, but it's not definitely. If I had to like place it between Raya the Last Dragon versus Wish, I probably would think that Raya the Last Dragon probably would be a better option for the audience to be drawn into the story than Wish. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, no, and I would agree with you, George, too, in terms of like the marketing for this film for Wish. 100 years in the making, from the makers of Snow White and Pinocchio and Fantasia and Beauty and the Beast. It's like they put so much pressure on this film, and they built it up to almost like unreachable kind of point, right? Where it's like, I think if they just would have marketed the film as the film, like you were saying, and not market it as this 100-year buildup, like all these movies led to this one moment, the pressure of that, right? I think it would have been much better off, but I still haven't seen it though. Full disclosure, I still have not seen it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Also,
but
I like to add something. During the time when Wish was being released, it was delayed. The movie was delayed because of SAG-AFTRA strike. So by the time that it was released, it was competing against another movie, which the other movie actually had a better box office sale, unfortunately, and that was a Spy X Family Code White. That's which was like all like extremely hit among the anime fans out there. So that alone itself already killed Disney's hopes and dreams of like trying to beat the box office.
Absolutely. And Gugamp here says, do you think Disney animatronics will reach a point where Disney will replace human meet and greet characters with animatronic meet and greet characters? I mean, we're kind of already seeing that, like not like on a massive scale, but here and there stuff like Universal. When you go to Universal Studios, they have the donkey meet and greet, from Shrek, and it's an animatronic. You know what I'm saying? You have even like in Batu, you have Mando, but you also have little Grogu, little animatronic Grogu. So you're seeing it here and there with the animatronics and the figures that are being used as like, for meet and greets. Do I think they're ever going to get to a point where you're going to have like an animatronic, like, I don't know, like Peter Pan, like walk in the parks? I mean, maybe eventually, but I don't think that's coming anytime soon. I think what we will likely see, though, sooner than that, would be some of the characters that you can't really that you can't really replicate too much in human form. For example, I could see maybe like a Pinocchio, like a little wooden boy animatronic that walks the parks, you know? So it's not like a full blown, like, 6 foot tall Pinocchio, but it's an actual little wooden puppet that's like walking around or whatever. And that's appropriate for that character. I could even see maybe like a Tinkerbell where you have a little animatronic Tink and like a little lamp or something that a cast member walks around with. Little things like that, certain characters that like maybe are due to their size or whatever, is really hard to kind of duplicate realistically with a human being. I think that kind of stuff could be a replacement to like a human person. But in terms of like the human beings, like Wendy or Peter Pan or Alice in Wonderland, no, I don't think we're going to have animatronic characters like that walking around. I just can't see it. What do you think, George?
So for me, like I could definitely see, Disney utilizing like newer technology, as time goes on, because that was always Walt's thing. He always looked to the future of the newest thing that can work to push the innovation. And I do understand that. But there's just something about the characters that just bring the heart and realism, that when you give a character a hug, it's a costume character, there's someone performing it, but I don't know, there's just some sort of charm behind it than just meeting a really cool audio animatronic. But I don't know, it just feels like that there would be like no real life to it, of having that one-on-one kind of hug and having that Kodak, picture moment. I don't know. It's just maybe me. Maybe I'm old fashioned, but I mean, I would love to see the characters utilized in new ways with the technology, but I wouldn't change the character meet and greets.
What if you put AI intelligence in there, though? No, I'm kidding. What do you think, Lucas? What do you think? You think eventually we'll get animatronic walk around characters like this on a mass scale?
I was actually going to bring it up. That's why I was like face palming for a second. Because for those, I'm pretty sure you've seen Josh D'Amaro was like showing a couple of BB-1 looking droids present during the presentation. The small droids that was like walking along with him, and he was like trying to tell him like this is the new innovations of meet and greets. Like where the droids will like start moving and following the cast members, and they were like trying to explain that they're gonna have their own thinkings or whatever sort, and I was like I was tweeting about something that Disney might put a lot of money into AI related, and making an animatronic, like certain animatronic characters, like doing not only just a meet and greet but also like just answer questions like in the very distant future, where actual cast members who do like voices like Crush or any type of like Disney characters, the AIs will like think and answer questions or make jokes to the guests and customers. Obviously, that was my like thinking that this is what Disney might actually do in the future, considering that they want to do they have been like focusing on the metaverse and everything too. So.
Well, it'd be interesting too if because we have trackless ride vehicles right now where you don't need a track; it's all programmed to go a certain way. It'd be kind of cool if we have animatronics that are free roaming. Like, for example, like you take an attraction like Pirates of the Caribbean, and you can have a lot of the pirates that are there now that are mounted into the floor and stuff. That's fine, but wouldn't it be kind of cool if you had maybe 3 or 4 pirates that weren't mounted to the floor, that were like free roaming animatronics that were walking in and out of the scenes? That would be pretty dope. And I can see a time when that might be a reality. You know what I'm saying? Where we have a pirate that's walking through and he's talking to Jack Sparrow, and he walks through, he goes in and out of the house, he goes in and out, that would be really awesome. I would love to see something like that. I mean, like I said, we already have trackless ride vehicles. Let's get some trackless, like not trackless, but like free roaming animatronics or something like that. I would like that. I don't
If
know.
that ever happens, I'm just gonna cross my fingers that there is no such thing as Skynet, and the, like the animatronics is out to get us all.
Exactly, right? The pirate jumps in the water, takes over your boat. You know, the whole thing. It'd be crazy.
Yeah, if there's like a unruly guest like making like unnecessary comments, and the AI is like doesn't like his comments, it's like I don't like what you I don't like the way you're saying to me, and it's just like that's also a guess.
That would be wild. That'd be wild. Gugam Pure says, should Disney build an Atlantic Ocean equivalent of Alani? And if so, where should they build it? Well, they own. I mean, how big is Castaway Key, the island that they own over there, George? Is it big enough for like an Alani? Because I think if they're going to build something on that side of I think that would be.
I mean, here's the thing: the actual island itself is pretty big. We don't even get to see the whole entire island.
Right.
Majority of it is utilized for the actual handful of locals that actually live on the island that work on Castaway Key when the Disney Cruise Line ships come in. I mean, it does have potential if they want to add more business over there, you know, to market the island, that not only can you travel by cruise ship and be there for a day, but you could actually, maybe if they create a way where you could actually have like several days staying into like a resort. I mean, they possibly could do that, or they could try to find another island in the Bahamas. I know that they have also, I mean, they were having some issues off of the inaugural sailing for Lookout Key. There's some things that they have to like kind of tweak on that a bit, but there is more of that island that is owned by the Bahamas, because Disney only owns just a little portion of that. Other sections of the island, the Princess cruises go to that island, and what have you. But I mean, anything's possible. Really, and honestly, I think it would be really kind of cool if they did to kind of have it on both coasts. Maybe not like an exact like Alani, because obviously that would fit that's for the Hawaiian culture, but maybe something for the Bahamian culture. Maybe they could do something, or Caribbean culture, or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think? What do you think, Lucas?
I actually had a super chat question to you guys like a couple of weeks ago in regards to this, because I said, what if Disney actually had like an all-inclusive resort in Cancun, and I think this is like kind of like my get go kind of question, because after I came back from Cancun, I was like thinking to myself, you know, if Disney actually built a resort, like a Mayan themed resort right here, and then did a whole Disney themed of everything right here, plus the whole dolphin riding experience and everything, with the all inclusive foods, with like a multiple like character interactions and everything. I think all the other resort businesses are gonna go like super shut down eventually.
Yeah, no,
because you have to understand, like Disney is a big company. They have a lot of ideas, and I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure they had this you know on their mind before, but the fact that they can't do all inclusive is probably the reason why they did decided not to do that business, because if they don't do the all inclusive, they would guess we'll probably go somewhere else that give free food and will do whatever you want, like free drinks and everything. So
no, well said. Well said. Gugam here follows up with, are there any World Showcase countries that should be replaced? In my opinion, the Morocco pavilion should be replaced with either Greece or a Thailand pavilion. Actually, I mean, I would like to see, and I think Lucas, I think you've mentioned the same thing. I'd like to see a South Korean pavilion. I think that would be awesome. The food and everything would be amazing. I think
don't give me that bullshit. If they put a South Korean thing, I'd never get your ass out of there.
Yeah, I would absolutely love it.
Oh my God, South Korea pavilion. You know, there's not gonna be a single seat available for dining at all. Everyone's just gonna like refresh.
South Korean food is awesome.
Oh, it'd be amazing. Korean barbecue. I mean, there's so much there. You can have just so much. And right now, you know, the Korean pop culture with the dramas, the music and everything is so popular here in the US. I could see a South Korean pavilion really doing well. I like the idea that GoogAmp has here of Greece. I think that could work really well, and you can even incorporate some IP into there, like with Hercules and what have you. I think that's pretty awesome. A Thai pavilion is also pretty cool. I don't know. There's potential here, you know.
So it's a great question, Googan, by the way, because we actually were talking about this in a previous show. I believe it was with Slimer, when we were talking about the new kind of structure work that they have been revamping for the Moroccan pavilion, and we kind of came to the conclusion it's possible that they made this change with the new tiles. Not to say that they wanted to cheapen it down, but because maybe in time, they had a lot of issues with the Moroccan pavilion moving forward for a lot of different reasons. And they may be looking to kind of cut ties, and maybe just for right now, they kind of went I hate to, dare I say it, the cheap route, because eventually it could become Greece or Thailand or South Korea or even Brazil. I mean, like for the longest time, Brazil was on the table for the longest time, and so for me, I could actually see that happening, because if we go back and to what I believe what Josh Damaro said, that the news that we're going to get at D23 is going to go for specifically for Walt Disney World. It's going to go beyond Magic Kingdom, and it's gonna go beyond Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom, for which, because we already know, as OG had just pointed out, for Beyond Big Thunder for Magic Kingdom and the Tropical Americas for Animal Kingdom. But he said we're going to get more intel than just those two parks. So if they're going to dive into Hollywood Studios and possibly even more of Epcot, then being that they kind of just got done finishing the future world side, but now World Celebration, I could definitely see them going more towards the World Showcase side and adding another country or two.
I'm telling you, yeah. I mean, it would be pretty cool. What do you think, Lucas?
As for the Morocco Pavilion, I don't think it's gonna be replaced for anytime soon, because they already had that whole fountain revamped and everything. But as far as I know, the Maracas restaurant still hasn't found the new owner, or at least like the negotiation for that hasn't been done yet at all. So I don't know if that restaurant's just like going to permanently close down or anything. It's being used as a I think the pass holder lounge now. And so, yeah, a lot of people were not happy with that, but it's not really Disney's decision. It was originally, the restaurant was owned by a third party company that was, who also owned the Tutto Italia in the Italian pavilion, and the owner didn't want to renew the Maracas restaurant because for apparent reasons. I don't know, not enough customers. We don't know, but as of right now, like. Should it be replaced? Like, for example, they like they had to demolish everything and like make a new pavilion, let's say. Even though I want South Korea to be part of it, but throughout the Disney board, like forum boards, the Twitter and Facebook, everyone's been mostly demanding Brazil to be one of them.
Yeah,
and that was like the biggest discussion right there. And that was a number one. Number two was Greece, and then number three was like it wasn't tied with like India and South Korea at the time, but a lot of people feel that South Korea is the same as China and Japan, which makes no sense. I had a lot of clash with a couple of people about it. They're like Japan and like China or have the same cultures, and I'm like, no, they don't.
Yeah, no, that's just out of ignorance, I think, when people, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, that an Indian pavilion would be very interesting, actually, because from what I'm hearing, there's actually a Indian princess fairy tale animated movie coming out, or being that's in the works right now. So, I mean, if that is true and that comes to pass, and that movie does very well, we could possibly see an Indian pavilion.
I like to add something because, like, for example, if I'm pretty sure you guys went to Animal Kingdom a lot frequently and everything. If you go to Asia section right there, there's so much Tibet and India kind of culture right there.
Yes.
So if Epcot World, as Epcot World Showcase and the whole world right there. There's not enough room these days. So and Animal Kingdom still has plenty of ideas to expand certain restaurants and cultures. Maybe they can throw a couple of them in there, like Thailand or India, like have its own like princess, like a meet and greet over there as well too. There's many possibilities right there too.
That's a great idea, Lucas. And you're right. I mean, Animal Kingdom, it's about the park. People kind of get focused on the animal element of it, but it's also very cultural, that park. So you could do, like a whole area dedicated to, various different countries and what have you. And the thing I love about Animal Kingdom, I've only been a couple of times, but the authenticity of that park is unmatched. It's absolutely unmatched. It's crazy how you really feel like you're there. I mean, it's incredible, absolutely incredible.
And also too, also friend of the channel, Florentine, when they mentioned about adding the Jungle Book to Animal Kingdom, you can, kind of add that into like an India kind of section of the park, because you can either do the animated or live action. It would kind of fit in quite nicely.
Funny thing you say that, George, because there was actually a Jungle Book specific nighttime show at Animal Kingdom before the Rivers of Light happened. They actually did a water nighttime show with a Jungle Books exclusive for a lot of fans back in 2016, and I was actually there for that, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, interesting stuff. And we saw recently too with Josh D'Amaro at that Walt Disney World event. He had the screen behind him. He was talking about Walt Disney World and the future of Walt Disney World. And that's when he said, this is going to be, exciting time for the resort, whatever. And one of the IP that was on the screen behind him was the Jungle Book. Now, nothing is by accident with Disney. That IP was a focus in that backdrop for a reason. So I wouldn't be surprised at D23 if there's some Jungle Book announcement. I'm not saying it's going to be an attraction. I have no idea. It could be a show. It could
honestly, I'm going to say, like, I do enjoy It's Tough to Be a Bug. I know a lot of people don't, but if they were to do something into the I would even prefer the Jungle Book going into the Tree of Life over Zootopia, to be honest.
Well, Zootopia, the thing with Zootopia, I get it, they're animals, right? The problem with Zootopia is that you go into a tree and then you're gonna see like a cop car, or something. Like that's the thing that kind of bugs me, no pun intended. That's what bugs me. No, but so I don't really necessarily mind the characters, but like it's just the setting. Zootopia feels more urban. You know what I'm saying? It's more of a city environment.
For me, that really bites.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's the biggest controversial conversation that everyone's been having is that like because it's a humanoid characters in like an urban city world doesn't really fit with the jungle. Like actual like a forest jungle conservative. Conservation of like like life and forest and actual non-speaking animals out there. So they believe that Zootopia should really rather belong to either Magic Kingdom or Disney Hollywood Studios. Is like a lot of people have told me.
Yeah. No. Well said. Yeah. Exactly. I've seen a lot of conversations about that, and I would agree. It's. Oh man, Zootopia in the tree just feels a little weird because you're going into that tree and then it's a very urban setting once you get in there. So, and George has a joke. What's your joke, George? I get it all over your face.
I was going to say, and literally the reception to that announcement, like it was so underwhelming because everyone was so hyped up to Zootopia.
Well, the problem with that announcement was that just days before they showed us what Shanghai was getting.
Right.
So it was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And then they follow it up with you're getting a 3D show in the Tree of Life. It was like, wah, 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 Oh, I tell you, that was handled PR, like that PR right there. Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
CSRS here says, with the Little Mermaid show coming back to Hollywood Studios, is it possible the rumored new land could be something themed to Disney animation proper? And is it possible this land could have another trackless ride? Or maybe we could see the Tokyo Disney Sea Peter Pan system make its way to Walt Disney World. Okay, now here's the thing with Tokyo Disney Sea, they have exclusivity, like an exclusivity clause. I think it's for like 5 years or so. So we could not actually use that ride system with the Peter Pan IP. I think if they separate, if they use the ride system with a different IP, I think you could, from what I understand of the contract.
So, yeah.
But yeah, we're not getting Peter Pan, that's for sure. Is it possible that they're going to make that whole area Disney Animation? I would hope so, because right now it makes no sense with Star Wars Launch Bay and all that.
Yeah. Also, too, if they go this route of what CSRS is talking about, if they work on the Beyond Big Thunder project first and the Tropical Americas, by the time they do get to this, it may already surpass the 5+ years. But I don't think that they will do Peter Pan, no, especially at Hollywood Studios. I think that they would utilize that ride system, but they would use it for, some sort of other Disney IP. I do hope and I do believe that they have plans for that animation courtyard, or lack thereof. You can't even call it animation courtyard, because you have the Little Mermaid, you have Star Wars Launch Bay, and you have Disney Junior. It's like,
well, and what I would do, and I've said this so many times, you have the whole Filoni-verse, the whole animated Filoni-verse. If it's going to be the animation courtyard and you want Star Wars, put Filoni's Star Wars animation in that building at least. But go ahead and put Rebels and all Clone Wars, all that stuff in there. That would make more sense.
See, for me, that would still seem to be kind of overdoing it for me with the Star Wars, only because in that same park we already have Galaxy's Edge.
Well, that's true.
I agree with George on that. I've been like kind of wanting that launch bay to be obliterated into nothingness.
Just want to bulldoze it.
Yeah. But also, around that area, the corner there, they always happen like throwing a lot of Pixar related stuff right there. Pixar related shows such as Incredibles and Up and everything. So that area, why not just have another more Pixar related stuff in there? Is my question. The Incredibles, you can put something in there for like a attraction, or trackless, maybe planes. Since there's a cars in the Disneyland, nobody ever talks about planes. Why not put planes right there?
Yeah, it's funny with planes. That was actually it's funny. It looks like a Pixar property, but that was Disney Toon Studios, right, George?
Yeah, Disney Toon.
From what I understand.
Yeah.
And we actually had, I think we had like a. Oh, I could be mistaken. Didn't they add for promotional for that movie? Didn't they add like the plane into Soarin'? Or something for a little, or was that maybe not? Maybe that was a meme. I'm
trying to remember, but yeah, like it was.
I thought
I think that they tried to like kind of oversell planes, because like they titled it, from the world above cars, and they added like little cameos from planes into like the cartoons and kind of vice versa, and it just like it didn't didn't get off the ground.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't really take flight. Yeah, exactly. CSRS here continues with, how likely will it be that the X-Men will be involved in Avengers 5/Secret Wars? What do you think about that, George? X-Men.
I know for a fact something big is coming, because I remember watching the Silence Your Cell Phones little preview with Deadpool and Wolverine, and Deadpool was talking to Wolverine as they were walking down this kind of like abandoned hallway or wherever they were at it, and he said, "I'm so glad that in Secret Wars that they're finally gonna reveal or announce or something of that nature," and then the cell phone goes off before he got to say it. So it was a teaser to the fact of that something big is gonna someone big is going to be attached to Secret Wars, and we may even get a little teaser about that in Avengers 5. So I can kind of see, and especially with Deadpool and Wolverine, he's already coming back. Hugh Jackman in a big way. So I could definitely see X-Men, I'm starting to see, and then Fantastic Four and maybe some other characters too that they may surprise us with.
And
Like
Kevin
Silver
Feige,
Surfer.
yeah, Kevin Feige knows his stuff, and I think a lot of the issues that he came across, I think, were a lot of Chapek era things. I think they were really kind of pushing him to sort of like pump the streaming service up with content. It was very much quantity over quality. And I think now that Bob Iger has come out with a mandate saying we want to pull back a little bit, and have more quality, I think it'll allow Kevin Feige to sort of cook, Chef Feige here. He'll kind of cook and do his thing. I trust Feige. I think he's going to do remarkable things. It's just going to be tough now to sort of get things back on track because you already have things in the pipeline and what have you. But I think he can do it.
So I guess that would be Chef Boy Feige.
Yeah, exactly. Chef Boy Feige. Exactly. Well, what do you think, Lucas? You think X-Men will get involved in Avengers 5/Secret Wars?
There's no doubt that they're gonna bring him in. Because after all, like Disney bought Fox for a very good reason. They wanted to own all the rights as much as possible, except Spider-Man, of course. But
yeah.
But I'm always kind of curious about this. How are we gonna like bring a Holocaust survivor into 2020 year of 2024 or 2028 right there? Like how is he gonna like maintain himself still like young as ever, and then like using levitate himself and using all these like magnetic fields and everything, and it just kind of makes me wonder, like, are they gonna like be like frozen in time for a couple of years like Captain America did, and then when they wake up you're like, you've been asleep, X-Men, for 80 years.
Right, exactly. That's funny. CSRS here continues with, after Secret Wars, do you think Marvel will or should take a break from theaters like they did the Star Wars sequel trilogy? I don't know. I mean, look, if there's something that like here's my thing, right? I don't think that the break really helped Star Wars, to be honest with you. I think Star Wars is kind of in the same position they were back then. So I don't know what it would really accomplish, right?
And they're still on a break.
They're still on a break, So I don't necessarily believe in like breaks like this. What I do believe in though is if there's projects in the pipeline that aren't working, that there's a quality issue, that's fine to cancel some of those projects. But to just do this whole break thing, like, okay, from here on out for the next 5 years, we're just not going to do anything. I don't really agree with that. I think that you can walk and chew gum at the same time. I think Star Wars probably should have done the same thing. You know what I'm saying? This whole break thing with Star Wars didn't really help them anyway. They would have been better served just sort of like continuing to make movies and just sort of come at it from a different approach or whatever. So that's kind of where I stand with it. What do you think, George? Do you think they should take a break, Marvel, or you think that they should just kind of maybe just reassess some of these properties in the pipeline? Or what do you think?
I would say it depends on the project. I am one that just don't throw something out there just for the sake of throwing it out. We do that here even on OG55. There's always some sort of relevance to why we, produce content, whether it's a live show, whether it's a pre-recorded show, whether it's an Orange Nerd or what have you. There's some sort of connection as to why we're doing it, so I expect that from Marvel and even to Star Wars. I feel like when you try too hard and you just want to throw something out there, sometimes it could be to your own detriment. But I do feel like as long as they pace themselves, I think if they completely cold turkey and just stopped abruptly, sometimes that could also make you look a little bit more vulnerable as to saying, okay, we got nothing else going on after this. So you at least have to kind of showcase, somewhat of what the hell you're doing, and even if it's something maybe not as big as Avengers 5 or Secret Wars, even like with X-Men 97, something as simple as what they did with that show. It's animated, but it's it's like they can actually showcase something that they can kind of be proud of, and it's not just something that's half-assed.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? What do you think, Lucas? Should they take a break?
I've always kind of like thought of like in Marvel series that Galactus has always been more of like a big bad villain right there. So more than any other Marvel villains that I've witnessed so far, besides Thanos. So should Galactus be defeated or for whatever reason, or I would say that MCU is pretty much dead at that point. And that's my personal opinion because I've always throughout my life experience in Marvel, Galactus has always been like the biggest baddie in my personal opinion, right there. Should they take a break and then do reboot everything? Maybe. Maybe redo the story with like something different approach, or maybe do something like a side story where it's like a more young Avengers type of story. Maybe like go from there. That's my personal opinion. I know Star Wars took a break because after Solo Star Wars story, they didn't really do well on the box office, and I think
Yeah.
that's where they decided to put a halt into it.
Yeah.
Because anything after they didn't really talk about a single film at all, and then out of the loop they decided to do the Mandalorian TV show as like a kind of like an experiment to see how people will react on this first Disney plus Star Wars story, and it did very successful, obviously, during the first season.
Yeah, yeah, and now it's so successful that now that's supposedly that's gonna be the first movie back when Star Wars does hit theaters again. Will be Mando and Grogu, which, if it happens, I'm very hesitant with Lucasfilm. I don't really trust, but if that movie if that movie is the first movie back, I think it'll do very well. The thing with Mando and Grogu is that it has normie appeal. You know what I'm saying? Like your grandma loves Baby Yoda. You know what I'm saying? Like it's such a normie thing. I knew people at my job who didn't care about Star Wars at all that were watching Mandalorian. It's a big franchise, So, real CSRS. Before I get to your question, we got Mr. Hey Bricky in the house. Bricky, what is going on, brother? It is good to see you. He says here, let me see here. Let me go back to the screen here. He says here, my question is, when will you guys stop reviewing those boring Hey Bricky parking lot videos? Never. I love them too much, Bricky. Those videos are phenomenal. Everybody, if you have not checked out Hey Bricky on YouTube, make sure you do so. Subscribe to him. Phenomenal content. He breaks down a lot of the speculation in terms of Disneyland Resort, like where things could possibly go, the logistics. Really, really, really cool stuff. So keep up the great work, brother. We appreciate you, Bricky.
Yeah, we really do. And I'm for sure you've probably already seen it already, Bricky, that we did a double dose of Bricky, if you will, on our latest video. So if you thought that we're doing it in Iger fashion, we're not just doing one review, we're doing two.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm ever gonna seek for like a parking lot advice or like or contractor related parking lot, I'm gonna go seek for Bricky.
There we go. Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much, Bricky. Appreciate you, brother. CSRS here says, when do you think Disney will start working on the new parking structure? Here we go. Here we go. Disneyland Forward. The new parking structure so Disneyland Forward can happen. Will it be in August after D23 or when the new fiscal year starts in October? Now, George and I, we were at Disneyland Resort around the time that they could legally start working on it. And we didn't see anything around that time. Maybe actually, after D23.
While I have everyone in the chat, and Bricky, actually, maybe even if I was over by the Pixar Place Hotel, and there was a lot of construction workers walking around the vicinity of the building. Now, I don't know if that had anything to do with anything. OG had mentioned that there was a possibility that they may have just been finishing the rooms. It may have just been something as simple as that.
And that was a Pixar Place Hotel, right?
Pixar Place Hotel.
See, that's on the opposite end, though. But they could be staying over there. Or maybe Disney puts them up at the Pixar Hotel or something. I don't know.
Now, do you also think, too, that they could... do you think that they could be working simultaneously? Like while they're working on the Eastern Gateway, they could start getting stuff prepped for when they could start utilizing the Simba lot?
It's possible. It's absolutely possible. It's interesting, too, in regards to CSRS's question. I think they might, he says maybe after D23, they might actually do that. Because if they start working on the parking structure now, they're sort of showing their hand before D23, right? A little bit. They're kind of showing something is happening. They might wait until they officially announce it and then start working on it. So August might be a good bet I don't know. We'll see. It's interesting though. I'm excited. I'm hyped up. I think we're gonna find out more at D23, and likely we're gonna get some Pandora stuff. I think because that's already been officially announced. But you never know. We might even get some, like, who knows? Maybe like Zootopia is coming into Hollywood land or something like that. We might get some crazy news. It'd be kind of cool. But what are your? Oh, go ahead, George.
Really quick, I just want to say, Bricky said Pixar Place Hotel is still under construction. They finished 2 towers to open the hotel, but have one that they are still working on. Okay, so they're still working on the hotel itself.
That makes sense.
And really quick, and definitely, Bricky, we will definitely hit you up whenever you want to come on, brother, to join in the conversation. You're always welcome.
Absolutely. I'll email you, Bricky. We'll definitely arrange that. That'd be a lot of fun. Absolutely. What are your thoughts on this, Lucas? I know you're an East Coaster, but what are your thoughts on this parking structure so Disneyland Forward can move forward?
I mean, I think this is definitely like a big game change for them. So, like the parking lot. I'm not a big expert on the Disneyland, only because I haven't been there since I was 13 and everything. So so I did kind of like but watched Hey Bricky's video and glimpsed at it, and obviously watch your premieres and everything. But with the whole hotel changes and then the Disneyland Forward, I think they're like the whole idea of Disneyland Forward is it's looking good within the next couple of years, and with all those Anaheim board members going on board, and everyone voting as yes, I think there's not going to be a single issue like being halted on any of these developments right there. The question is like, will this development be give us like the more than just an expectation, or is it going to be just like imagine this, and then it turns out that it's not exactly that?
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, we got to see what they give us, right? Like Pandora, I'm very, very confident in that, because not only did they announce that, but it's James Cameron's involved, and James Cameron's going to demand quality. So we're going to get something really legit with that. Absolutely. And the thing about that too that I really like is that because in Animal Kingdom, they're limited in terms of like their hours because of the animals. Here in California, we're not going to have any kind of restrictions as to how late Pandora stays open. So we're likely going to get all the nighttime Pandora that we could ever want here in California, which is really, really awesome. I love that element of it. Go ahead.
And I still feel like that Pandora is going to make its way over to the Simba parking lot.
I do too.
Kind of, again, going back to what Bricky was saying in his previous video, they have a lot of, I don't want to say issues, but they would have a lot of hurdles to get through, like with the monorail system and how it would fit in with Pandora. And I also feel like it would kind of construe the structure of Pandora. Like I feel like it still wouldn't give it enough breathing room.
Exactly. It doesn't work. It very much is a round peg in a square hole over there in Hollywood. And like in Bricky's video, he was talking about like you have to work around the monorail beam and all kinds of stuff over there. And it's like, why not just utilize the Simba parking lot? It's a blank canvas for you to play with. I think James Cameron would prefer that as well. He can really play with that more creatively. For Hollywood Land, do something, more urban, like Zootopia, and with Zootopia, if they care enough to do this, but they can sprinkle in some LA landmarks in that Zootopia land to sort of give it that California tie. Maybe you have, I don't know, like the Walt Disney Concert Hall, all, Zootopia ties or something, to sort of give it a little bit of an LA vibe, but you can keep the red car trolley if you do Zootopia, because it going through an urban setting like that, it would totally be okay. The monorail beam, you can keep that. It just makes more sense, right? Instead of trying to shoehorn Pandora there when you got so many acres over there at the Simba lot. Also, and I've said this in many videos, but not everyone watches every single video, so I like to repeat sometimes. Disney and a lot of these theme park companies are very big on these grand reveals. Universal's brand new park opening next year, Epic Universe, is built and designed around grand reveals. That's why they do the portal, the portal concept for each land. you go through the portal, and when you come out the other end of the portal, it's that big grand reveal, right? Disney does the same thing in their lands now too. With the Symbol lot, because you're going to have the bridge go over Disneyland Drive, it kind of forces you to have that sort of grand reveal moment. And I think you're going to want that with a Pandora. So I think they're going to shoot for Symbol lot. Absolutely. CSRS here says, when they do start working on the new parking structure at Disneyland Resort, when would Hollywoodland be able to go down? Would it be before the new parking is completed or after? I'm going to guess after CSRS, because I'm assuming they're going to want to push out whatever they do with Hollywoodland, whether it's a whole new land or whether it's a revamping of Hollywoodland. They're going to want to extend it out, I think, into that bus load unload area. And in order to do that, they're going to have to complete that Eastern Gateway. But what are your thoughts on that, George?
Yeah, I even if they do something like back to back or simultaneously, they can't really fully start on anything major as far as like closing stuff down and maneuvering the rezoning until they have the parking structures. And then you also have to reroute the bus loading and unloading area. So they have a lot of how do I put it? Boring stuff to do before we get into the
sexy stuff, basically.
The sexy stuff, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
you got to put the cologne on before you approach that. I'm not even gonna finish it. I'll stop right there.
There we go. Yeah, probably for the best. Probably for the best. Our next question is from CSRS. Great questions, by the way, CSRS. CSRS has been watching our channel for a really long time, and I remember doing the Q&As back in the day when I was the only one on the channel back in my solo days, and CSRS would submit these questions, and they were always awesome. CSRS here is saying, would it still be somewhat possible to move the parking beam for a Hollywood land replacement? I think it was originally the plan for Avengers Campus. Also, is there another way that could block it out if they move the beam? I think he means the monorail beam is what I think he's referring to. Let me see here. Give me just a second.
Moving monorail beam, that's going to be tough.
Yeah. I mean, it is. I think that what they're likely going to do,
because it's not just moving the beam. You would have to literally remove chunks of the monorail itself and rebuild it to make it go around a certain. Because there is one point that they cannot alter, which actually Bricky touched upon that too.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that they're likely not to touch the beam. I think they're going to want to put something in that spot that the beam can kind of coexist and seem kind of normal. So whether that's more Hollywood themed stuff, whether that's Zootopia, whether it's, but yeah, I think that's kind of the plan with that.
But also, I'd like to add something. The whole monorail beam itself, like within that beam has a huge high voltage that you can't just like easily move it to one through the another, like you guys said. Like if you change that, the whole connection of the voltage it become a big complication. And I think that's one. If they were gonna ever do it, they would have to like do it from scratch, redo the whole monorail, and that's just like back then it might have been millions of dollars right there, but now it's like billions of dollars right now.
Okay, so that's interesting that you mentioned that, Lucas. So being that you said that for DCA, could that be part of the issue why they can't really maneuver a lot of stuff out of Tomorrowland because of that, as OG calls it, the spaghetti bowl?
Yes, because all of these were planned originally, and now they have constructed it. Like, if they moved one rail or one beam right there, then they have to reconnect everything, like within that cement, there's a huge voltage of like cores and then like the copper wires and all like the materials. That one beam itself is like hundreds and thousands of dollars right there. And that's just going to be a big problem for any of the, even including Disney World, that there's a reason why they can't like redo a lot of these monorails.
That's a great point, Lucas. I never really considered that, but you're absolutely right. There's an electrical component to this stuff. It's not just a cement beam, Very, very good point. Dreamy X here says, hey guys, Have you heard about a new potential Moana dark ride coming to Adventureland at the Magic Kingdom? There have been a ton of rumors. If it's true, I'm glad to see more capacity being added. First of all, Dreamy, thank you for your question. I do love your avatar. I always say that every time he's in here, but it's pretty dope. Moana is a fantastic franchise. It's a very popular franchise. It's like, it's always crushing it on Disney Plus. Disney would be really, really foolish not to incorporate some big Moana dark ride, whether it's Adventureland or somewhere else. I would like to see something obviously water-based, though. Like, I think that the Shanghai Pirate ride system that they have would be a cool way to go about the Moana dark ride, something like that. But I'm open to other ideas as well. But I think you need a water component, a real water component, though. Like, I wouldn't want to see like a screen-based thing. Like, I want this thing to have
Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Like,
yeah,
the water. Yeah.
Nah, I wouldn't want that. Or even like the Peter Pan thing over at Disney Sea, right? Like, I don't want like you're in like a simulated boat. I want real water in the Moana ride, But I think it'd be pretty cool. I don't know. What do you think, George?
That's the rumor mill that's going around with Moana is there's going to be some sort of big e-ticket attraction that is going to incorporate her in Magic Kingdom, potentially in Adventureland, because there's an expansion pad right behind the land that's kind of nestled in between Pirates and Jungle Cruise. And
Right.
I think, honestly, if with Pandora, that's going to be utilized with the Way of Water, where they utilize that ride system of the Shanghai Pirates. I think for Walt Disney World, that would even be a great, spectacular notion of using that ride system as well. But for Moana, because as you had said, OG, it's a water-based kind of IP. You can utilize even some screens, but you can also utilize it as it being a boat ride that integrates actual real water and water effects. And I think, honestly, Moana would be gorgeous on that kind of scale.
Oh my God, dude. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And the music in that movie, that some of that music hits so hard, dude. I mean, in a theme park kind of dark ride experience, I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about it. I think that'd be awesome.
Really quick, not to digress too much, but you had mentioned the music. There's actually one part of the music in the first movie that a lot of people may not really think about, and it's honestly one of my favorite pieces, and that is at the end ballad.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yes, that Moana is singing to Ka, that she transforms back into Te Fiti. I mean, like, that is like, oh man.
Oh, incredible stuff! Incredible stuff. What say you, Lucas? What are your thoughts on this Moana dark ride?
I mean, I heard about this potential dark ride as well too. Now I'm also kind of like checking the live chat. Starship 824 saying it word on the street is a boat ride that he's saying, and I did hear that as well. But like, to be in an Adventureland, I don't know about that, mainly because there's already like so many boat rides. Tiana's Bayou Adventure is technically a boat ride, and then the Pirates of the Caribbean is also a boat ride. So if the Moana dark ride also gets a boat ride, then we have like 3 boat rides around that whole corner right there.
It's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah,
So,
you might want to pick maybe a different, maybe I don't know, maybe Animal Kingdom would be kind of cool for Moana.
Animal Kingdom, but my original wish was that if Moana could actually be more involved primarily in a water park, maybe such as like a island, the Typhoon Lagoon, maybe. That's just my wish.
It's funny because we actually did a show on that. Like, if they were to incorporate a whole water park of Moana.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
It makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, like, Moana going on an adventure to a sea, and then you might like go on a slide ride out to Fiji, and then just like drop down right there.
No, it makes total sense. I mean, the Te Fiti thing, just picture like Volcano Bay.
Yeah.
Like that big, that'd be beautiful. Go ahead, George.
But honestly, to your point, Lucas. You're right, because there is a lot of boat rides in Adventureland. But I'm going to say something so daring, but yet I think people would back me up on it. If I had a choice between bringing in a new ride boat system for Moana, honestly, I say Axe Pirates, because
Oh no,
yes,
that's gonna cause more problems.
I say honestly, Axe Pirates, because I'm sorry, Walt Disney World's Pirates is nothing compared to Disneyland's. Honestly, you get a half-assed attraction. It's like when you go on Disneyland, you get these cavern showpieces in the ride, like coming off of the bayou, and then you go into where they're having the ship battle with Barbossa. When you're halfway through the ride, that's where the ride begins at Walt Disney World. And it's like, after going on Disneyland's Pirates, I don't think I actually ever went back on Magic Kingdom's Pirates.
That's interesting that you say that. I mean, I've never actually been on that version of Pirates. I've only been to Walt Disney World that one time with you, and I actually we doubled Animal Kingdom and Epcot, because those parks are amazing. But we kind of only did like very little at Magic Kingdom.
Yeah,
I wasn't feeling that well. I hit my head, and it was a whole big thing. But I don't know, man. It's interesting. Like, I understand where you're coming from, but I don't know if they should just get rid of it.
In Disney's mind, to actually get rid of Pirates, they would never, just because that was the whole point why they even put it in there, because people were stark raving mad that they didn't have Pirates,
because they were going to go. They were going to go with the Western River Expedition.
Correct.
But then they were like, you know what? No, people love Pirates too much that they threw.
I'm just curious, Chad. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you've ever been on Pirates at Magic Kingdom. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
I've been there every time. Here's my concern. The moment that you suggest that and Disney actually does it, we're gonna see a group called Save Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, right.
and it is not gonna end very well.
Oh, I'm telling you, man. They're still the Save Splash Mountain people. It's like that ship has sailed, bro. Yeah. Like, that's not coming back.
I don't think it's going to be like Save Pirates of the Caribbean. I think once it traces back that it was a comment that I said, it would probably be keep the Italiano safe. It's like,
yeah, right. Exactly.
Oh my God.
CSRS here says, what is next for Paramount after the Skydance deal was called off? Will they try again for another sale, or will Paramount be sold off for parts at this point? He goes on to say, I think there was a rumor that WB might be interested in buying some of the Paramount assets. However, how much validity does this rumor have? And if WB bought some of Paramount assets, how would this affect a potential WB NBC Universal merger in the future? This is interesting, CSRS. Skydance is not happening, right? I mean, there were rumors that Sony was a suitor, or is a suitor still. I'm not really sure where they stand still. In terms of WB buying some of the Paramount assets, I think WB right now has enough problems of its own. They should kind of
thinking.
Exactly. Let's get the water out of the boat first before we buy, more stuff. I think that's kind of where I'm at with Warner Brothers right now. I think that down the road, I think it would be smart for Comcast Universal to come in and buy some of Warner Brothers, though. I know a lot of fans don't like that idea because of the consolidation and it's, monopoly issues or what have you. But I think for theme park fans, I think Universal owning some of the WB IPs, like the franchises, my God, can you imagine? Like, you could have, I think Lord of the Rings is WB. You have all the Looney Tune characters. You got, so much, all the DC stuff that you could maybe utilize if they can snatch some of those rights away from Six Flags. There's a lot of potential there if Comcast Universal owned at least even some of the WB assets. And here's the thing too, I've been very critical of Universal. They rent a lot of franchises. They don't own a lot of really big franchises that matter. All their biggies, Harry Potter, Nintendo, are other people's other studios, other companies' properties, right? But when it comes to their own stuff, it's kind of slim pickings. So if they were to acquire some of the Warner Brothers stuff, I think it would really help their in-house IP portfolio. It'd be a game changer. And with the theme parks and stuff, that would be absolutely insane. People talk a lot about, Epic Universe would make Disney is making Disney nervous. It's not. You know what would make Disney nervous? If Comcast bought Warner Brothers. That would make Disney fucking nervous. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do agree. Like, honestly, I think like with Warner Brothers, it just they have so much great IP that a lot of people like they kind of like pass over, you know, that you don't really think about, you know, you kind of like focus on, you know, certain aspects of it, but they have so much. And you're right, if Universal does like partner up or make a merger with Warner Brothers, yeah, that is something more that I think Disney should be more concerned about than Epic Universe. Not saying Epic Universe isn't going to do great. There are aspects that I can't wait for Epic Universe, but as a whole, to me, it's an updated technological version of Islands of Adventure.
Well, and that's one of my big criticisms too. You're right. I mean, we did a video just the other day reacting to that promo for Dark Universe, and Dark Universe looks amazing, dude. Like one of the coolest things I've ever seen for a theme park. But you're right though, George, and we've talked about it, right? And I know it's kind of taboo to kind of, you know, criticize Universal, but we'll do it here. You know, we're going to be up front where it's like, it doesn't feel any different than what Islands of Adventure offers. It's the same kind of park. You could easily take the lands from Epic and turn that into an expansion for Islands of Adventure. It all feels the same to me. You know what I'm saying? So that's definitely an issue. But what are your thoughts on this, Lucas, in terms of like Paramount? You know, who could possibly snatch this studio up? Would you be down for maybe Universal buying Warner Brothers? What are your thoughts on this, brother?
You know, before before Warner Brothers can buy Paramount, I have a feeling that Paramount's going to buy Warner Brothers instead with the way it's going. But you know, let's say that Warner Brothers somehow has to sell their franchise. I have a feeling that Comcast Universal might actually focus on DC Universe as well as Harry Potter to compete against Disney, if that were the case, and, you know, have that own right there, and then purchase Adult Swim and Cartoon Network as well too.
Oh yeah,
that's with the, you know, should they own that, then technically they own Six Flags as well too. You know, at the end of the day, because Six Flags is part of Warner Brothers intellect property and franchise right there.
Yeah, they have a licensing deal with them. Yeah. So that would be crazy. That would be absolutely crazy.
As for Lord of the Rings with the New Line Cinema, I think Amazon has a big interest in purchasing the New Line Cinema rights just for the Rings of Power and then the full rights of Lord of the Rings franchise.
Oh, that's a great point.
That's a really good one.
That way they can snag the whole reboot and then, you know, claim it as their own. And, you know, funny thing that, you know, I'm going to bring this up because originally there was going to be a Lord of the Rings theme park long time ago in South Korea, Jeju Island, that they were originally going to plan on. It was going to be funded by a Chinese company to have the legendary company, you know, the cinematic company, to build a resort with a park inside the resort with a Lord of the Rings theme, and then the monsters and all of those type of like themes inside, and that kind of got canned. But that was like part of the South Korea's tropical island, like a getaway resort theme park that they were originally going to plan on, and that never really happened. Yeah.
Interesting. Now, you've already brought up Amazon, so we'll move on to the next question from Dreamy then. Dreamy here says, Hollywood Studios has amazing e-tickets. However, I think this park has enough of them. Disney should consider adding more filler rides to increase capacity as the park. Let's see here. What ideas do you think Disney should bring to this park? Dark rides or more thrill-based rides? You know, it's funny you mentioned this, Dreamy. Come to think of it, you're kind of right about this, though, right? The park kind of has a bunch of e-tickets, but they don't really have a lot of what Dreamy is saying, filler rides.
And that's why Slinky Dog Dash has an 80, 90-minute wait all the time, because they don't have enough to kind of offset that. If you have a young child that maybe is a little bit of a thrill seeker, but that they want that thrill, but nothing over the top, they don't really have a lot to kind of, you know, balance it with. And honestly, to answer the question, I think it actually goes depending on which theme park. Because I feel like that there's theme parks that have enough kind of family-friendly dark rides, and then they need some more kind of thrill rides to kind of offset that. And then I feel like there's some parks that need the opposite effect.
Yeah. What say you, Lucas?
Disney Hollywood Studio definitely needs more thrill rides, only because if you already made 1 or 2 thrill rides, you had to make more thrill rides to balance it out for the guests to split its weight, and balance out the queue lines. But as you know, like as I mentioned during December, Slinky Ride was a 3 to 4 hour queue line.
Yeah.
And with no Lightning Lane or Disney, the Genie Plus available, they completely close it out on purpose so that you don't use it. But at the same time, for those people who actually queued up for Genie Plus and Lightning Lane on what is it, the Rock and Roller Coaster?
Yeah.
They got their refunds because the Rock and Roller Coaster got closed for malfunction throughout the whole week right there. So Slinky Dog doubled its wait time from 4 hours to 6 hours eventually.
Wow.
And the Slinky rides kept breaking between it as well too. So it's like,
jeez,
it's a nightmare.
Yeah, that's bad. Well, and that ride is actually really fun. It's actually kind of a little bit more. It's a little bit more thrilling than I was expecting. Like it actually has a little bit of a like I was expecting a little bit like a Gadget Go coaster, and it's more intense than that. Would you agree, George, in terms of intensity?
Yeah, I would say it's not like over the top, but it kind of hits that certain threshold that it kind of gives you like those butterflies in your stomach sort of thing. It's like it just hits like enough of that thrill, just to kind of get your feel of it, so to speak.
Yeah,
it's definitely a kid friendly intensity in my personal opinion.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It's absolutely kid friendly. It was just more than I was expecting it to be. I thought it was going to be more like Gadget Go Coaster. It was like, wow.
OG, I think I asked you this before, but it kind of refreshed my memory. What was a little bit more on the intensity side for you? Was it Seven Dwarfs or was it Slinky?
They were about the same, I think. Yeah, they were both more than I was expecting, but they were comfortable though. I'm not like a big thrill junkie, but both of those rides were thrilling but comfortable. Unlike Cosmic Rewind, I just could not hang. I couldn't hang with that one. I tell you that much.
Oh really?
Oh man, I couldn't hang. You like that one, Lucas? Are you a big fan?
Oh my god, that was like my fun experience of my life comparing to Tron Lightspeed Cycle or whatever it was called. But like the Tron ride was fun because you feel like you're actually biking on a roller coaster, but at the same time, it was very short. But a Cosmic Rewind, it was like you're riding on a people mover type of ride, but also it feels like a roller coaster at the same time.
Right.
But with all that 80s music, so it got me really hooked too.
Oh, people love it. It's totally a fan favorite, and it's kind of like the goat trick on Big Thunder, like times 100. It's just that intensity it's wild. Just turning your ride vehicle while we're going down a hill or whatever, what a difference it makes with the intensity. It's absolutely crazy. I'm telling you, man, that was a bonkers attraction. Absolutely bonkers. CSRS here says, in my opinion, I think Hollywoodland will be addressed before they turn their attention to the Symbol lot. Depending on what they break ground on, the revived Eastern Gateway, could they have a Hollywoodland replacement ready by 2028, or would that be more 2029? In my ideal world, I would like the Avenger T ticket ready by 2027 and Hollywoodland by 2028. From what I'm hearing, and a lot of people are saying that the e-ticket in Avengers Campus is dead. From what I'm hearing from people we trust, right, George?
Exactly.
That ride is far along. Like we're getting it, and
more
than
what we are already knowing, sort of.
Right. I think from what we're hearing, that's the Avengers e-ticket is going to be probably one of the first things. We're probably going to get more news on that at D23,
which really would make more sense in a sense, because you're then utilizing land that you don't have to really offset. You don't have to change anything. You're just expanding out that back area right by between Mission Breakout and Cars.
Right, exactly. Let me see here. Give me one moment. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And that I got your message, Lucas. That'll be the next one we do. Absolutely, no problem at all. Give me just a second here. Okay, there we go. So, what do you think, Lucas? You think that that the Avengers e-ticket by 2027, Hollywoodland replacement? What do you think is going to be the priority with Disneyland Resort, or none of the above?
I want to say none of the above, but at the same time, Disney wants money, so I would say Avengers e-ticket is like going to be the get-go right there. They're not gonna like do this construction forever and ever. They really want, they're gonna like try to do whatever they can to rush this and then open it so that they can get more like the attendance and ticket sales. So they're gonna go for probably Avengers e-ticket by 2027 and first, and then worry about Hollywoodland replacement by 2028. That's just my opinion, but like but at the end of the day, they're business. They're a big capital, like big business company. They're not gonna like take this construction forever, and then keep all the guests and potential guests and customers hanging in there forever for that.
Yeah, no, well said. Okay, now because we're gonna go we're gonna go about another 20 minutes or so. So this question was directed to Lucas. So we're gonna get BJ. We're gonna get your question in right now. Give me just a second, and it's a multiple. Well, it's a 6-parter. So here we go. BJ Vincent. Here we go. Here we go. This question is directed to LucasKim concerning the announcement a while back about the entire Macross series being available to stream on Disney Plus. I do not know how you feel, but while I'm excited to a certain extent, I am just curious how Disney Plus got the rights. When the Blu-ray was announced to be done by Nozomi Entertainment / Crunchyroll, the Blu-rays still have no clear release window, despite being announced years ago. While I'm excited to a certain extent, I am just curious how Disney Plus got the rights, especially when the Blu-rays were announced to released by Blu-ray by Right Stuff, then afterwards done by Nozomi Entertainment and Crunchyroll. That being said, Blu-rays still have no clear release window, despite being announced years ago. And he finishes up with, would like to see something more tangible, like in my possession, like a Blu-ray copy. Like many, I was hoping for Blu-ray subbed copies of these Macross titles. What are your thoughts, Lucas?
So to answer this, like I don't know if you guys know any series about Macross, but I'm a big fan of Macross, and thank God it's not Robotech for the love of God. And but Nozomi Entertainment originally was like working with Funimations at the time, and when Funimations decided to sell their rights to Sony, they also sold their rights to Crunchyroll. And I think in between right there, that's when Disney decided to take an executive action where they wanted to like work it out with Sony and Crunchyroll to say, hey, while you guys are working on the Blu-ray, can we also stream my rights? And I think that's where the negotiations started happening. Disney, you have to keep in mind that Disney also owns Hulu. So before Disney Plus started like showing anime, Hulu was the one who started streaming anime and everything. So it's probably around that time that when Disney decided to gain full ownership of Hulu, they probably sought out to like add more anime such as Macross to be part of it. At the end of the day, Crunchyroll and Rice Stuff, may own the rights of physical copies such as Blu-ray, but for streaming wise, I think they did like some kind of like a loyalty deals with the Crunchyroll to make sure that they also can have the right to stream something within their platform. It's not an exclusive rights, if anything. Disney, as of right now, Disney Plus also has like a movie such as like Ferris Bueller and then like some other like Warner Brothers companies to like stream into their platform. So it without a doubt there is no question that like they probably worked it out with Crunchyroll to make sure that they're sharing the same media right there.
There we go. Well, thank you, Lucas, for that, and thank you, BJ Vincent. Dreamy X.
I am glad you cleared that up, Lucas, because if someone were to ask me that question, the only answer I could give is I pay $8.55 for Crunchyroll for my son a month.
There we go. There we go. So Dreamy X here says, with Disneyland Forward now approved and Disney and Florida finally fixing, at least on the outside, their relationship, do you see Disney focusing more on California or Florida? Personally, I think Disneyland Resort is already in a great spot. Walt Disney World, however, definitely needs some investment. What do you guys think? In my opinion, Dreamy, I think Disney is going to go full bore on both. We're hearing a lot of rumors, not even rumors at this point, like tangible stuff coming out of Walt Disney World right now. Permits being filed, construction staging areas, for like Animal Kingdom and what have you. Florida is going to get a sizable investment. They absolutely are. They have to. You know what I'm saying? We do have competition now in 2025. Now, I understand I'm not one of these people that like think the sky is falling because Epic Universe is opening. I think Disney will be fine. They will survive. Absolutely. But you still can't be oblivious to it. You still have to provide some stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I think Florida will absolutely get a good amount of investment. But I also think right now, Disney is very bullish on California. I think the reason why they're bullish on California is because, and I've been saying this for a long time, there's only so much time people can go on vacation. There's only so much money people can spend. There's almost so much PTO people have. And when you're looking at the Florida landscape right now with Universal, with their 3 parks, and you got 4 parks at Walt Disney World, that's not even including the water parks, there's only so much growth potential there, like with hotel occupancy and all that, right? There's only so much growth potential. Where at Disneyland Resort, there's a lot more growth potential because our resort is only really maybe a 2-day stay at the most, maybe 3-day stay at the most. So there's more growth potential there. So, and I think Disney sees that. So I think they're very bullish on California right now. But even though I believe there is more growth potential at Disneyland Resort, not physical growth, by the way. I'm talking in terms of financial growth, in terms of like hotel occupancy and stuff like that. Even though I think there's more growth potential there, I still think Disney is very bullish on Walt Disney World right now. We're seeing a lot of movement over there. I think Disney's itching to get started over there. But what are your thoughts on that, George? What do you think? Anaheim, Orlando? Who's getting?
So yeah, I think it's going to be a very balanced out kind of announcements. I think that they're going to announce for D23. As far as the parks, I feel like that Disneyland park itself is in a great place right now. I think the main focus, from what I believe, is going to be DCA. I think that needs a lot of TLC. It has a lot of potential to grow. Disneyland, we mentioned it so many times on the channel that Disneyland's in a good spot. So like as far as the park itself, they can wait a little bit of time before adding something new. Is that what they're going to do? We really don't know. They may even start with Disneyland first before DCA. I hope they don't. DCA really needs to get that turbocharge. But as far as the resorts go, I think it's going to be a 50-50 kind of breakdown that I think everyone is going to be satisfied with the announcements and news that's going to come out.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe here, let's get some heart emojis in the chat for maybe. What's going on, maybe? Lucas Kim, there we go. That's some hearts. Lucas Kim, what are your thoughts on this? What do you think? You think Disney's going to prioritize California, Florida, a little bit of both? Where do you stand with this?
I think they've been already prioritizing like even before quite a while ago, and they just decided to announce it publicly afterwards. But I think they were already planning on it for a very long time. You have to understand that when it comes to Disney World, they had this whole lawsuit going with the DeSantis and everything. So the plan for a $17 billion project happened put on hold from the Central Florida Tourist Oversight District. So now they cleared everything up, and they dropped the lawsuit and everything. They are going, they just went back to the drawing board and started discussing on what they're going to do with it. But at the same time, they just got another lawsuit from the Imagineer employees and the Disney employees who were supposed to move down to Florida, and then all of a sudden they just got retracted. So that's another thing that they have to work it out over there as well too. But I don't think that Disney is putting more effort in California than Disney World. I think it's just more of a based on timing is the issue right there. Like I said, Disney World, they're gonna work on it, but at the same time, they have to like kind of struggle with the district over there that they have to like work it out on their own because they're the California is a California issue and Florida is a Florida issue.
Yeah.
I think that's the only issue that's really there's to it. Disney's not like focusing on one thing over another. I don't think that's actually the case right there.
Yeah, I think Disney's bullish on both right now. I think they're what do they call it, turbocharging, and I actually kind of believe them this time around. And look, here's the thing too, right? We've talked about it. Before tomorrow could blow a lot of smoke, right? He could say maybe like what if, coulda, shoulda, woulda, blue sky this, blue sky that. But it's a little bit harder for him to do that now because he's already done that a couple times, and fans have gotten pretty pissed off. But aside from that, he's on that short list for Disney CEO, which by the way, Disney CEO, the short list is full of a lot of white men. James O'Keefe, just so you're aware of that, Mr. O'Keefe. You know what I'm saying? A lot of potentially white men might get promoted. But we'll get into that in a video on Monday with Seymour. But yeah, no, I think that he has to deliver. He has to deliver because he wants to become CEO. And he wants to have the good headlines, and you're not going to get the good headlines when you do a bunch of what if, coulda, shoulda, woulda, and your fans are all mad, And Iger can't make another mistake with the CEO succession. He doesn't want another Bob Chapek situation. He can't fix it again. If he picks the wrong person this time, it's done. His legacy is done. He's got to pick the right person. So I think when it comes to Daddy Josh, if he gets up there and he gives us a bunch of blue sky stuff again and the fans are mad, you potentially have another Bob Chapek situation where the fans don't like the CEO, and that could be a huge problem. So Josh has to deliver. I think he's going to deliver because I think Josh has to deliver this time. He doesn't have any wiggle room. He's tapped out. He's absolutely tapped out. Now, this will be the last question of the evening before we close it out. But I wanted to bring this question up by Trip Johnson, because we're actually going to do a video, a reaction video from one of Poseidon Entertainment's recent videos about Tiana's Bayou Adventure. But to answer your question, Trip, what do I think of Poseidon Entertainment? I've never had any issues with him. I mean, we follow each other on Twitter. He's always been a really nice person to me, very civil, very cool. I disagree with Poseidon on a whole lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. But I did watch his recent Tiana's video, and I thought it was great. I mean, a lot of people were kind of throwing these typical stuff that people throw at content creators whenever someone likes something that's Disney, that, they were calling him a shill and he's being paid by Disney and this, that, and the other, bunch of nonsense. He's very critical of Disney, actually. I mean, historically, very, very critical. And he liked Tiana's, and he didn't like it blindly. He had criticisms of it too. So I don't know where that whole thing came from. This whole thing on X, I saw all these people saying how he's a shill now. I'm like, I don't see it. It was a very reasonable review of the attraction. But yeah, I have no issue with the guy. We're going to do a reaction video to his Tiana review very soon. But George, what are your thoughts? Poseidon Entertainment, you watch him? Are you a fan? Or
I've seen some videos of his. I used to follow him a little bit back in the day. I don't really follow too much of him currently, but I mean, there was a lot of videos that I watched that I found very interesting, very entertaining. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any kind of issue with, anything of his channel or what have you. I do think I should really kind of dive back in to see what he's been doing, because as I said, I kind of let it fall to the wayside a little bit.
Yeah, I disagree with him on a lot. I mean, he's more bullish on a lot of Universal stuff than I am. I don't dislike Universal. I mean, we just did a video for Dark Universe. We were fawning over that thing, you know. But I think Poseidon's way more bullish on Universal than I am. But I disagree with the guy. But I've never had any issues with him. I mean, like I said, we follow each other on Twitter. He's always been very nice to me. But I don't know. That's kind of where I stand. But Lucas, do you ever watch Poseidon Entertainment? Do you have any thoughts on his content or?
Many years ago, he had a nickname called Poseidon. Notice me, Universal Senpai. that was his nickname. I've heard of him many times before, and you know what it is. He is very a big Universal show is what a lot of people named it, and now him being called Disney show is just like kind of like oxymoron in my personal opinion.
Well, and that stuff has been thrown around so willy-nilly. Like people just throw shill around like nothing, you know. It's like,
it's just like, oh, you like Tiana's Adventure? Well, you're a phony then. Well, I don't know about that. Just because one person suddenly likes a one ride doesn't suddenly make him into a show.
Well, and there's this narrative that like, and it's not just the Disney fandom, but like. For some reason, people have this misconception that if you're negative about something, that equals authenticity. No, it doesn't. You can be negative and hate everything and still be fake and phony. You can be a grifter that's doing it just for the monetization, and you can hate everything. Okay, authenticity does not have a positive or negative bias. Authenticity is just someone getting up there and telling you how they actually feel. So people get up there when they say, I see it all the time. Anything negative is automatically honest. Not necessarily, you guys, not necessarily. And just because something is positive doesn't necessarily mean it's dishonest. Okay. So authenticity doesn't mean one or the other. But what are your thoughts, George?
Yeah. I mean, you kind of go like both ways with this because it feels like, honestly, who really said it the best, that kind of summed it all up was Rhino Clavin from the Diz, when he said, like, no matter what interpretation that you have, speaking of like Tiana's Bayou Adventure, no matter which way you look at it, you're going to be wrong. Right. Because there's no middle ground for this attraction. It's either if you love it, you're wrong. If you hate it, you're wrong. It's just like, and I feel like the backhand of this is because there's so much history that's going to be kind of permanently tattooed on Tiana's Bayou Adventure because of what it replaced and why it was replaced and how it was replaced. And it's just like, no matter which way you kind of look at it, there's always going to be some sort of negativity attached to this, unfortunately.
I would respectfully disagree, though. I don't think it's forever. I think as time goes on, we get further and further away from Splash Mountain. I think more and more people forget about Splash. Like right now, it's fresh.
Here's my thing. This thing opened, and people are still saying saving Splash Mountain. And this thing is literally opening. I think, honestly, there's people out there that won't let it go, that they won't let people forget. And that, to me, is the toxic side of social media.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to say something about the Splash Mountain. Like, let's say that they bring Splash Mountain back. For some other, reason, they decided to be like, hey, let's bring Splash Mountain back. It's not going to be exactly the same thing. It's going to be all 3D screens and then the same Splash Mountain people are just going to be like, this is not what we wanted. We wanted our old animatronics. Well, they're all in the dumpster, my friends.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'm telling you.
For the normies, they're not even really going to even know any of these conversations even exist.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and that's what I'm saying. The normies are not as attached to the Splash Mountain.
No.
IP.
I'm talking about the people that won't pull the jock strap out of their ass cracks.
Yeah, it's too much, man. I get it. Look, if you miss Splash Mountain, you have every right to miss Splash Mountain. But you get to a point where it's like you kind of have to like, all right, it's gone. I'm moving on now. I don't know. I can't believe we're still talking about this. It's crazy, but it is what it is. But I want to thank everybody in the chat today for joining us. Really good time talking shop with everybody today. Lucas.
Sorry, really quick. I just have one more question, and I lost it. It was actually my bestie Kaylee. She asked if God, I can't find the question. It was if we purposely wore those matching shirts when we met Oswald, and yes, to answer that question, Kaylee, it was purposely that we were going to wear them that day because we were meeting Mr. Webba, and those Roosevelt shirts are Spider-Man, so we wanted to surprise him. Little did we know we were going to bump into Oswald when we walked into DCA, so we just happened to be sporting those those shirts.
Yeah, we did plan it. We were wearing Spider-Man shirts because we were with Michael Webba, contributor here and friend of the channel. But it wasn't for Oswald. It was for Webba. Starship here says, and actually Starship is going to be making an appearance on the channel very, very soon. So check out the video with him very, very soon. But he says you're either a hater or a shill. That's exactly it, dude. Yeah. There's so much name calling out there. It's just
I'm the biggest hater. I hate the way that you walk, the way
the hater or a shill, hater or a pixie dusher, right? It's crazy. So, but yes, I do want to thank everybody for joining us today on this episode of OG55 Live. Lucas, your first live show, you did amazing, sir. We would love to have you back on again.
Thank you so much for bringing me in. I at first I was very nervous about it, but it was very comfortable talking with you guys about all these questions. I do appreciate everyone asking me these, all these wonderful questions. I think they were very good. I'm sorry that I'm not a big, I'm not really expert on Disneyland, compared to these two right here, but all of these questions were very good and very challenging. I enjoyed, answering some of them and reading most of them. And thank you, BJ Vincent, for specifically asking me a question. I do appreciate that question as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's okay. Like the question that BJ asked you, George and I had no idea. Right. So, and that's kind of the beauty of this stuff. Like, there's going to be questions that we all really know really well. There's going to be questions that maybe, you're more privy on, things like that. So, but yeah, Lucas, if you could just remind everybody where they could find you on social media.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter, also known as X, now X permanently. And my username is ItsLucasKim. And then when you look at it, there you can click the link tree, and you can find all my YouTube links there. And Lucas and Disney is one of them. And be sure to subscribe, like the video. And if you have any other questions or specifically want to discuss about Disney or Star Wars or Marvel or anime or video games, anything is possible right there. Talk to me, and I'm willing to get into those conversations.
Absolutely. So on X, it's basically his name right there. It's Lucas Kim. Just at It's Lucas Kim. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. Check out his link tree. Show Lucas love. He is family here on OG55. Always great conversations with him on X and everything. So make sure you check him out for sure. The Italiano. If you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There it is. There it is. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're watching this on the replay, comment down below with all your thoughts on everything we discussed today. And until the next time, see you later.